welcome to a non-end of the season kind of episode because we have a patch to talk about today. I don't think we actually have anything like introductory here besides our weekly challenge of every time you lasted a minion, look at your mini map or take a drink. It's kind of your choice on how you want to do that.
Challenge is way too hard, by the way. I failed it at least 20 times.
Depends on what we didn't specify what you had to drink though.
Well,
it was a who? Me?
You could have drank anything you wanted, and that challenge could be as easy as you wanted.
It was a vodka and tonic.
Ooh.
Ooh.
So
yeah, I bet.
Yeah,
But you were in trouble early on.
Punch got smashed.
The other way to get around this is play support all week, like I've been doing, and then you don't have to last hit.
So, my god, that's the trick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey
that's
guys,
the of succeeding.
Sona's free low. If you want, that's your tip for this week. If you want to climb, play Sona and buy Ardent Sensor, and you win the game. It's very easy.
We are still taking listener questions. Feedback at trinityforcepodcast.com. Send them our way. We'll answer. Possibly on air, maybe by email. You never know.
Maybe one of a bunch of different ways.
Maybe by messenger pigeon. Who knows?
Maybe we won't answer you.
Wow.
Maybe.
Wow, we're not that heartless.
Well, I mean, some questions sitting there for a long time if phone doesn't like them.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to answer this question tonight. Maybe next time.
We'll just make you wait really long if it's a bad question.
That's true. It's really obnoxious that he jumps around like that.
I
hate it.
Yeah,
like, just go in line. Just go in line. I put him in that way for a reason.
Yeah, it bothers me a lot. So we are talking about patch 7.16 today. It is I think 7.18 is going to be the world's patch.
Correct.
Yes.
So we got a couple coming up. This one is fairly large.
Kinda.
It's like, I mean, compared to what it looked like a couple days ago, it would look like a very small one on Surrender at 20.
Not as big as the last
one,
one, thankfully.
Yeah.
There's a lot of small
It's voluminous in changed quantity, but they're not necessarily like hugely impactful.
It's very thin.
It's the tweaking patch. It's the mid lane tweaking patch, as they've called it.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's true. Mid lane does get hit a lot here, but as we have on our document, if you were watching live, we have top lane first, and
the best lane.
The best lane, according to two of our members here.
Three.
Sure.
Yeah, you can add me at
Three.
least.
Also, Sean.
Majority.
I'd argue
not
mid.
here.
I like mid better now, but
Wait,
come on.
who is that?
That's top three.
Fair enough. So Fiora, her passive movement speed when you hit a vital went up because they had taken some of her move speed away when she ultimated.
they took away
Is that
all
the
of
right
it
word?
when she ulted.
So some it equals all in this case. So moving it back up 15 to 30% goes to 15 to 45%. So adding some power back there, at least giving some more dancing ability.
It's a pretty significant late game revert to what they had basically done before. Her early game stays where it is, like it doesn't get better. But I don't know, like I felt her early game was kind of where she was weak now. I don't really feel like her late game was where she was lacking personally.
So
It
this change
depends.
doesn't piss you off.
She depending on how much Fiora you play, her early game isn't that bad for how hard she scales. She's a very imbalanced champion in the fact that she's not like Gangplank has a pretty bad early game. Most people agree outside of, like level 1 trade with Q. But his late game is pretty good. Fiora doesn't she loses a couple lanes really hard, but for the most part she'll go even or even win some lanes and then scale into this hyper side lane split pusher who can never be 1v1'd. So I think this is fine because her win rate dropped pretty hard after the nerfs last patch. It dropped like 4 points, but
that is a significant drop. I just wonder if maybe it seems like they've tweaked the numbers to where they look pretty, but honestly, I'm wondering if putting it back to 45% is just too high again.
Well,
it's really only cutting off 5% from what it was prior to the last work.
On top of
originally it was 20, 30, 40, 50.
Yeah, and she had ult speed when that was live too, so she still doesn't have that. So I mean, Fiora's still Fiora, but she's a little bit better. Maybe we're again understating this buff, but we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, seems interesting. We got Scion, which I guess could arguably be a support a lane as well. He got, well, I guess not these changes for sure. His W, the bonus health per small minion killed went up from 2 to 3. The large minion stayed at 10. So that's the health he gets whenever he gets CS. And then his ult, the maximum damage went up by 100, 200, 300. And now no longer gets stopped by Lulu's W polymorph, which is, I guess, a very like, yeah, that bug fix that everyone was clamoring for. Now Sion's viable again because Lulu countered him. Yeah, so his ult.
Max damage is high, you know, at 1200 at rank 3, but there are not a lot of cases where you were actually getting like the max damage hits on there. More often than not, you end up using it as like a point blank, almost Leona type ult. More than anything else. So,
I mean, his ult's pretty easy to dodge. So I guess they had to give him something.
I mean,
it's gotta be good
extra damage is like it's crazy.
Yeah, but that's got to be like max distance.
Well, you get max damage before max distance, but
I don't know what that range is.
Yeah, I don't honestly know the numbers offhand, but I know that it'll cap out before you've gone like the full distance.
And the health's nice too. I mean, you're getting
just landing it once though, like just one team fight where you do get like a charged ult, but 300 AoE could be the difference. You know, I don't think it's worth, or I mean, I think it's worth a lot. Like I think it's huge, but really the W buff is big too.
Yeah, I was also thinking about the fact that not just is it the minimum damage doesn't change, but if the maximum damage goes up, it means the scaling has to go up too, unless they have a weird way of saying you hit thresholds and then suddenly you're at max damage, which I think would be kind of like, I think that's not really stated in this, but I believe that would be how it would work. Yeah. So
you mean like
a scaling buff,
like the AD ratio? You mean, or
no, just the amount of time, like the scaling of the amount of time in ult equals damage. Like
so like you get more damage per second
per time. Yes.
Yeah, that's true as well.
So that's kind of like it looks like it's only at max damage, but it's like anywhere after the minimum damage, you're getting a damage increase, even if it's small. Like you're getting more of that now.
Yeah. So Sion wasn't necessarily in a bad spot, but this helps him a little bit. Getting free health is always nice.
He wasn't as good as the other tanks.
No.
Yeah, it is a little surprising we're not seeing as much of him.
It's not though, because he just offers less than the other tanks. His engage is
I don't know,
it's less reliable,
but his post-engage crowd control is up often.
Yeah. I mean, Q's pretty easy to dodge.
You get one teammate with a little bit of crowd control, and you can basically perma knock up, perma stun somebody.
Yeah, his secondary is fine.
Very little too for like missing his crowd control. Like his Q is a huge refund if it gets canceled, like even by an enemy. So like that's a pretty big deal. And his E has been kind of bad for a long time. Like his E is really like going to be his only bad ability now, if that makes any sense. Like his W is just still just a 1 point wonder early.
And even then, like
Q is devastating.
He still shreds armor if you hit somebody point blank with it instead of a minion. So and it's just a flat 20% at all ranks. So like that's always going to be valuable.
For sure.
It's a good trading tool in lane. Like if you're 1v1ing, that's it. Like 20% armor shred is damn nice in any scenario.
So for all three of you Sion mains, this is a good patch for you.
Yeah, like if he wasn't...
Moon knows one. Moon knows one of them.
If he isn't strong after this, the only ability I can see them adding power to at this point is his E.
Yeah,
they nerfed E pretty hard way back when.
Yeah, so. Which is risky if they do that, because he used to use that to bully the lane hard, and that's why they nerfed it so much.
Yo, mid lane Sion.
I don't want to see that. Aurelia fixed a bug where casting Blade Surge or Q on the other side of a wall could cause damage but not bring Aurelia over the wall. Cool.
Never experienced that.
I've never experienced that either, but I guess it happens sometimes, so yay.
All right. Bug fixes.
Cool. Yay. Which I think we're going to have a few of them here. Nautilus now properly stops if he collides with player-created terrain, example, Anivia's wall, created in his path while pulling himself to Dredgeline's anchor, so his Q. So
that matters? Because was it resetting the cooldown on his Q if he hit it, and it wasn't, like, moving him?
What I think this means, actually, is... like if terrain gets created between his anchor after it's already attached to something, he will no longer go through that terrain.
Okay. That makes sense. Yep. So I guess that's a nerf.
But it's such a weird case that it it can't have happened too often.
Right.
I mean, unless you have like a McLaren situation where you W your own Nautilus to stop them from getting to a fight. Like that's about the only time when you're not gonna care about that. If anyone who's been watching since season 1 remembers McLaren and his Anivia guide, it's really bad. Jungle. So we're switching over. Cinder Hulk price went up 75 gold.
I think that evens it out to the rest of the jungle items, right? Or is it still cheaper?
I think that puts them all in line. I think that's kind of like there's been an interesting amount of like balancing that's gone on with item price points for a while now. Like a lot of the like I think it might have been the BF sword items. I feel like that's not right, but like a lot of them all ended up being the same thing for a while.
Right.
And
the tank armor items are the same cost now. I know they normalize all of those.
So this does matter a bit because this is one extra camp generally that you're gonna have to clear before you can combine.
This if they weren't changing Maokai on this, I would say that this is the biggest change of the patch, or for the jungle stuff at least.
Yeah, for the jungle stuff.
The Maokai stuff is the biggest deal here.
Yeah. So Cinder Hulk more expensive.
But I think it does. Yeah, it's a big deal.
So Cinder Hulk was 200 gold less than all the other ones. It's now just 125 less.
So it's still cheaper.
Still cheaper, not
still
by much.
really good.
Huh.
Still very good. Yeah, I wonder if people are still going to buy it. I don't think this is going to...
I wonder what the design decision there is to have it 125 cheaper when all the other tank items and tanks are really strong right now.
Maybe they think the other enchantments are more impactful when you buy them. I mean, Cinder Hulk is not...
Warrior
it gets
now?
better over time. Cinder Hulk gets way better over time.
And that's the
whereas
thing.
Ones
So,
are flat
so
the
weird thing has been like the jungle gets defined by how good this item is. If this item is not easily attainable, nobody plays tanks. They really, really struggle out of the jungle, and everybody is going to either Runic Echoes or Warrior. And like that because that was the first half of the season. So like they're trying to make sure that this item is still one that people can realistically purchase because the champions that need it cannot survive without it. But it's obviously overtuned right now and has become problematic.
I think that's a great point, Dom. But what I would say is ever since they made those changes to Balmy Cinder earlier this season, I feel like that's kind of what the answer was to make Cinder Hulk attainable. Like you get the Balmy Knight, now the tank can reliably clear out of the jungle. And that was really the turning point. So I think now with Balmy's the way it is, I almost feel like they don't have a reason for Cinder Hulk to be less expensive.
Right, because you look at they nerfed the AP junglers because Nidalee's been this borderline, either you play Nidalee only and you're pretty good at her or she's garbage. And Elise got nerfed again and she's fallen off the face of the earth. So there's like your two primary Runic Echoes jungler. And the rest of the warrior junglers don't really do much right now. Lee's a common pick, but he's not really strong in my opinion at the moment. Oh god, I guess Kane's the only ever one that builds a warrior that we see a fair bit now.
Which is see a fair bit is an interesting term for Cain. So
right.
It does not translate to success.
No, because like you don't see Hecarim that much. You don't see other strong AD junglers.
Jarvan?
Jarvan goes Cinder Hulk a lot of the times, does he?
Does he? Okay. Well, I guess the other thing is that like 75 gold is like a camp-ish.
Yeah.
Like you got to probably do another camp. If they nerfed it by all the way down to make it 200 gold more expensive, like that would be a great. Like I think they're just like finely tuning this because 3 camps or so, like 2 to 3 camps would be a much bigger change to throw in and say it's going to take you this much longer, Cinder Hulk junglers, and throw them really far behind.
I do kind of see why because both Recurve and Runic and Warrior have higher costs in their items. Warhammer's 1100, Recurve's 1100, and god, Runic's like if you count both items it's 1265, something like that, 1250. So like they have smaller combined costs, and I don't think they want to make Cinder Hulk a 725 combined cost on a jungle item.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's. That's a lot of discussion points for what looks like a small change that some people might not have thought about too much. So moving on, Maokai, who I'd say kind of weird. Sapling toss. Max health damage went from 8 8% of targets maximum health at all ranks to 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8. So going up by 0.5% and going back to 6.15's amount if he maxes E. And that damage is obviously translated into the sapling, which doubles that damage. So that goes from 12 to 16 now instead of 16 at all ranks. So
I couldn't
1 point
believe
wonder
they left that.
1 point wonder is gone.
I couldn't believe that went by as a 1 point wonder for as long as it did. I
Right,
was outraged with that way back when they when the support Maokai thing was going on. I'm like, that thing as a 1 point wonder is ridiculous. So,
So
and you like, the worst part is you could just wander into a brush that Maokai was nowhere near and then suddenly lose 40% of your life just because there's just so much fucking damage going on there, or what felt like 40% of your life.
now I haven't jungled any Maokai, so I don't know how badly this is gonna hurt his clear, but I assume it's gonna impact it a fair bit, at least until he gets bombies.
I mean, it has to. If you're talking about a quarter of the damage, a quarter of the damage being taken off, like that's very significant, or at least of the percentage max health, like
which is
so
is
much
a lot
on big monsters.
Yeah.
So big change for him. We'll see if it ends up being like, if there's any reason to push towards a more E max. That feels
I don't think so.
dirty to say.
I really don't think so. So I think he just kind of falls down a little bit, and we're gonna see more.
He needs to, though.
Like, I think Sedge becomes almost one of the default best junglers now.
Like, maybe you put a second point into E earlier than you would want to, or you normally would,
Maybe.
but that's the extent of it.
Or maybe you just see more Maokai out of top lane now.
That also could be it, where
It's not like he was a stranger up there.
No, but he just might
Nope.
he just might be out of the jungle from this. I don't want to say that's the case because he still gets to clear pretty free with the rest of his abilities, but it might be a shift towards that.
I will be upset if that's ultimately what happens. I'm just kind of getting annoyed with Riot having these champions that are interesting and that they can function well out of top and jungle or mid and jungle and that type of thing, and then they just keep sort of pigeonholing them to one specific spot.
Don't worry, we'll get to that
We'll
next
get to
too.
Galio later and everything,
Kayn?
who's another example of this, but it's just like, come on, like it's okay to have champions that can do or that can succeed in multiple areas. That doesn't necessarily make them overpowered.
Yeah.
So that's what that's actually the next point that Santana was talking about. Next champion is Cain. His passive, Cain no longer gains transformation progress from ticks of corrupting potion, deathfire touch, red buff, or challenging spite. Other periodic effects such as ignite already had no impact on transformation progress, which he says, rip mid lane Cain.
Because we actually saw this LCS last week before, where we're seeing this W max mid lane Cain with Deathfire Touch Corrupting Potion just to really stack his passive quickly to get to Shadow Assassin, on top of having pretty decent clear on your W. It chunks for a fair bit. But now Riot's like, we don't want that to happen, and they've pretty much removed that as an option. You're not going to see much lane Cain anymore. They've said in the red post today, I think, or it was yesterday, that they're looking at other ways to buff lane Cain. But yeah, I agree. Like, this was really cool and a unique way to get things going. You're sacrificing a fair bit by going Deathfire Touch because you don't have the burst from Thunderlords, or just even going like Corrupting Potion early in lane can be a problem for Cain. And they're just like, no, we that's not how we wanted the champion to be played. So.
And it's not like it was. I mean, you were getting your transformation faster and everything, but he still has a tougher laning phase, right. And like you still had to be a good player in order to make that be meaningful. And to remove this, I don't know, it just hurts all those people who were like actually succeeding with it and doing well, because it's not like they were warping the champion field or something with it.
It does bother me too that they do this a lot, because I mean, remember when Talia first came out, a lot of players were like, oh, you know what, Emax is really good, we're gonna do Emax, and then they just nerfed E into the ground until you could only max Q, because that's the way they wanted the champion to be played. And it's like, but we figured out a different way to play it, just let us play it. It's not negatively affecting the game per se, but I don't know.
And because the next couple patches are going to be focused on balancing for worlds, I'd be surprised if I saw something for lane Cain
Before then, oh no.
soon. No, yeah, I wouldn't think so.
They don't want somebody like popping up and just starting to play him a ton at world. I
They
mean,
don't want to
as much
make
as
waves.
although it would be kind of funny from a monetary standpoint to make Cain become a very appealing champion right at Worlds, but everyone will be like, "Oh yeah, we should play Cain. He seems pretty good. He's the new champion. It costs money. Get him."
Don't worry, we already saw our
but-
Corki buffs for Worlds just in time. So
No, they're coming. He got nerfed here, didn't he?
yeah, we'll get to it, but he got buffs before to get him to the place he is now. So
There's still time to buff him too.
yeah, we got 2 more patches
Good,
to buff
thank
him.
Goodness. That's when I'll switch back to mid from support when Corki comes back.
Yep.
The rest of Cain is pretty boring. Shadow Assassin Kane's tooltip now displays the proper slow duration, slow value, blah blah blah. Not super important. His ultimate, Cain. This is actually kind of cool. Cain once again marks targets for R, his Umbral Trespass, even when his damage is completely absorbed by a shield. So that's kind of cool.
So when they removed that last patch, they're like, hey, we can't have that. If somebody blocks all of his damage with a shield, then we can't have him ulting into them.
Right.
And then they decided, wait a minute, that's kind of a big nerf. Let's revert that.
Yeah, it
Sorry
didn't
about
make,
that, Cain.
In a shield heavy meta, yeah, that's going to be a really
that
bad
didn't
thing.
make much sense to me because it's like he damaged the champion. There was just a shield
Right.
there. It's like I hit him, but you know, Janna's there.
I like where they're coming from, sort of like from a conceptual standpoint, but ultimately it was like, no, that just
Yeah.
doesn't align with the
Right.
rest
It's
of
a
what's
huge
going
fuck
on in
you.
the game. And it's
Yeah.
Janna just says,
unnecessarily
"Fuck you."
punishing the players. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, does that
But it
happen? I
was-
mean, does
it
that happen
was
with like
funny.
Rek'Sai? Like Rek'Sai, I'd be surprised if that was the same case.
Yeah.
Or I guess I wouldn't be surprised either direction, which way they went with that.
All right.
So Vi, almost no jungle. Her E, excessive forces and power attack can no longer be canceled after Vi begins winding up.
I've done this
Cool.
a couple
I guess
times.
is that-
I mean,
So just use cancel the auto.
yeah, it happens every now and then. I guess this
And
is
it
nice.
uses the charge, I assume.
I believe so.
So you just lose the
Yeah.
auto attack.
I guess
So-
that would be the reason, I would assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be the reason it would be bad. And then her ultimate, wow, good bit of a 20, 15, 10 second cooldown reduction as you rank it up. So it's down to 130, 170 seconds. And Vi once again ends up a short distance behind her target. So kind of like Zed does with his ultimate.
That matters.
Shot.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think what's odd is Riot has a tendency to take away something that they deem the problem with a character, and then they're like, oh, well, let's just add it back because we can't think of a better way to
Right.
bring the character back. I'm not really sure why they would add that mechanic back to her if she was too strong with it before, especially at the same time with a cooldown buff. I feel like maybe they should have gone with one or the other.
I feel like when they nerfed that before, she was when did she get that removed? End of season
It's
4
been a
or 5?
while. Yeah, it's been a while.
When she
Yeah, I'm
was
trying to
rampant.
remember when that happened.
It must have been when it was like her, Lee Sin, and Elise as like the primary 3 junglers.
And like every time her R was up, it was like a guaranteed kill.
Pretty much. Now I'm getting that back. I mean, now she can queue people into the team after she's behind. It's not much extra distance, but it still matters. This wasn't Vi's problem right now, but it's still a welcome buff to a champion that probably needs some love in this meta.
Yeah.
Sean has been really high on her, so
Her build path's too expensive. Because you almost have to go Triforce on her.
I kind of feel like her base stats are what's sort of lacking, honestly. She's like in the mix a lot. She kind of has that Xin Zhao syndrome where, you know, if she really wants to do her full damage to you, she doesn't have any way to get out afterwards.
Yeah, I agree.
So I kind of feel like maybe her base stats should be up a little bit at the moment. She just seems like she's just a little bit too fragile with an optimal build. Just because
because
of her low base stats.
Zin at least has some like free stats coming his way, and also some
Healing.
health restoration.
And they're basically relying on Vi's shield to do that, to fill that role. But because of the long cooldown, it's just not as reliable, honestly.
And like it was 7-3. They nerfed her base attack speed too, which I thought was a weird thing that happened. But yeah,
She's very reliant on her auto attacks.
yeah. So maybe give that back if they want to see her do a
She
little
was
bit better.
kind of running rampant when
At the beginning of
her
the
to
season,
Colossus.
a a little bit.
But that was Courage of the Colossus'
Right.
fault and not really Vi's kit. But
I mean, that's just kind of a
nerfed
balancing thing that
champions.
happens a lot. Is they nerf the champion, and then they nerf either like the masteries that were helping the champion and or the items that were the problem, and then just forget about the champion for a while.
I can't decide if this is good or a meta with potential for Vi or not.
No.
Because she is really good at getting to those hyper carries in the back line. Like you're seeing a lot of Kog'Maw and Pro play, right?
Sure.
But there's also tanks to deal with. So if she goes to the back line, those tanks are just going to separate her from her team, then she's going to die.
Again, she's very if she's ahead and she's like destroying the other jungler, she's gonna look real good. If she's even or behind, she looks really bad.
You would need to have like Xerath and Jhin on your team.
Right, you
every
need
time
some
if you
way to
wanted
hit the
really
back line, too.
run. And then you're just telegraphing what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So yeah, I mean that's we'll see if she ends up becoming really really strong from that. Mid lane, which is what we were talking about earlier. There's a lot of small changes to a bunch of mid laners here in ratios and what have you. Orianna, first one up. W command dissonance. Her base damage went down 10 damage at all ranks, and a queuing kind of thing changed where while the ball is moving from command attack, Orianna can queue up command distance if the ball is within 75 units of Q's target location, as opposed to it was 275 units. So a lot smaller range to start queuing up your W, so that I believe it casts when you get there.
Correct.
I was not a good Orianna player when I was playing her for about 12 seconds. So that's not. I guess that's bad. That is a nerf. It just means that you have to be more accurate with your timing for W if you're trying to queue it up. And then command protect. The shielding value went down 20 at all ranks.
Mm-hmm. So
I think.
God.
I think the timing change on W, or being able to, the way you can queue up W after moving with Q, I think that's a really big deal in the short term. It's the type of thing that's going to cause a lot of people to have to sort of relearn the champion a little bit, and that's going to see players of Orianna struggle for a little while. I think for like a hot minute, it knocks her out of pro play, just because like every game that they're playing right now is really going to mean something, and if you have to basically relearn or adjust to a champion's timing when you're going into really really meaningful games, I don't think anybody's going to want to take a risk with that type of champion. In the long term, I don't think these changes are big enough to like stop Orianna from being a powerhouse all said and done and everything. I think the issue is her passive just packing way too much damage inside of it, like for really no cost to her at all. And long term, I think that's what they're going to have to look at in order to address Orianna's issues.
I think now that I've gone over and I've had the entire day, I actually went and queued up a real quick like custom. It's gonna hurt players with higher latency. If you're if you're me and you're next to Chicago and you have like 15 ping, it's annoying and it's going to take a game or two to get used to, but it's not going to affect you. It's going to be the players that are on like 60, 70, 80 ping that are going to have trouble getting their spells queued correctly. But I think we'll go through all the mid lane changes. I think this actually is the biggest change because losing 20 base on your shield, which doesn't get skilled again until level, oh boy, what is it, 10? 11?
Maybe? It'd be 14, or 14, right?
Yeah. So you don't get that extra damage you're mitigating usually in lane is a pretty big deal, and it allows you to trade better and have a relatively safe lane into pretty much everything. So I think people are kind of looking at the W and being like, oh yeah, that's the biggest change, where reality is that E nerf is going to hurt her a ton.
She needs it though.
Oh no, I agree. She needs it.
So we're hoping that it's not too much, because we don't like to see characters become
drop
garbage. But
Yeah.
But hopefully she won't be the pick ban that she is now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she was one of those champions that was in every Worlds, like Corki. So maybe we have no Orianna this year.
She's probably still gonna be played. But like,
she
probably.
just still does way too much.
yeah, even in solo queue now.
Yeah, she does everything.
If you're looking at like Plat and Plat up, she's at a 12% pick rate, which is 5% higher than anything else, which for mid lane is pretty significant.
And she's not exactly what you would call a solo queue hero. So she's
No, she's
like,
she's supposed to be like a
very
safe pick
strong.
that can scale up to team fight, but she hits these power breakpoints a lot quicker than you think, while being able to bully a lot of matchups and still being able to late game team fight extremely well.
Orianna, for a really long time, has been a champion that I don't want to ban because there weren't a lot of players really looking at her. Like she just kind of always like she'll get really popular for a second and then people forget about her when like preseason and that type of stuff hits. But she's always been so good that I want to ban her because I don't want to run into her, and I don't just because it's like I think it's more likely I'm gonna the opponent team would pick somebody else that I also don't want to run into. And then when she does get locked in on the enemy team, like I'm always just really pissed off. I hate dealing with this champion. She's really good. And I don't think these hit her hard enough, all said and done.
I think it evens it out, but I don't think it's the end all be all for her. I think we'll see her on the patch again. If not this one, the one right before World starts.
Okay. So moving down to Syndra, some very small AP tweaks. Q's ratio drops from 0.75 to 0.65, and Scatter the Weeks, her E goes up from 0.5 to 0.6. So it generally a nerf because you're going to be doing way more with your Q's over the course of the game. But still like shifting power a little bit in terms of like a one team fight situation.
They've been doing this a
kind
lot
of
with her.
Season.
You have to hit your E.
This is kind of been her season. Like no matter they keep hitting her and she just like refuses to go down, and she's just been good all season.
Yeah, she's
even when they changed her what was it, her W? Like yeah, people took a second to really come around to that and everything, and then they're like, oh, you know what? No, she's still good.
Yeah, I mean because she's again, she's one of those champions that dominates like laning phase, and if she gets one kill, be it solo or from a gank, she can run away with a game by herself.
You can also cheese pretty hard with Syndra once you hit like level 11 or something. Just sit in a brush, drop a bunch of Qs, wait for some poor sucker to walk by, and then press R on him and watch him die.
Yeah, she's kind of like Orianna in that she fits in a lot of team comps without having to try very hard. She's a bully in lane. She's pretty good in pick comps. She's not too bad against the tanks because she can just ult a tank and then stun everyone on the other team. And she just does a lot of things.
Todd, I heard you laugh. How many times have you done that on Garen?
I do like 900 million at least. It's pretty
Still
much
your
how
favorite thing to do.
It's pretty much how I win my games. If I can't kill you in a bush, then I probably lose, to be honest. So
At least you admit it.
You just disconnect at that point.
I'll just keep doing it.
Talia. Oh, fair enough. Yeah, Talia. Mana cost just went up on our Q. Went from 50 to 70. Now is 60 to 100 as you rank it up. So pretty big mana. We were just talking about how you could only go Q max, and then suddenly this mana cost just
you're still going Q max
really,
only,
really hard. You're still going Q max. So I think you only use half of the mana, I believe, if you're throwing it on Worked Earth. So I mean, that's still more mana than before, but Jesus, that's a huge amount. Like 100 mana for your spamming spell. That's kind of rough.
Yeah, she was also.
If I'm not mistaken, sorry to interrupt, but didn't they buff her mana cost on Q for like the very reason that it was like making her useless?
I think initially when she got released, they changed the mana cost on that Q. I don't know if it was from this amount they nerfed it to, but yeah, they did do something like this. I think part of the reason they're doing this now, again, she's a very strong laner who can just push the other champion in and roam like she's supposed to with her kit. The problem is she doesn't get punished for it, and she just doesn't have the mana costs that were high enough to let her keep doing that. Because
wasn't somebody saying that this is a build path nerf basically, since she was able to skip Morello's?
Yeah, she was able to skip Morello's because her mana costs were pretty low that you could sit on Lost Chapter and go into Banshees, but now you're not able to do that in like the matchup against Syndra because you want that MR. You have to finish Morel's or you're going to be a lot of the time in lane.
Part of the original mana cost change was because her EW combo was way harder to hit when she first came out. You know, for most players, I think a couple people liked the old way it was being done,
correct.
but by and large, it was a lot harder to do. And so, you know, long term, this is sort of like adjusting that, you know, compensating for the fact that that part of her kit is easier to do now.
Yeah. So, I think this, if Ori's not the biggest nerf on this patch, this is the biggest nerf for mid lane on this patch. But yeah, and I really love playing Talia. I'm just garbage at her, so this makes me a little bit sad inside. But
Ooh, it now costs more than it did when she first came out.
yep.
Ooh.
That's what I'm saying.
It was 60 to 80 when she first came out, and now it's
100 on a
That's what
rank
I'm
5
saying,
spell.
dude, like,
that's brutal.
I really feel like they're trying to kill her in one
Right.
change.
Because
Jeez.
think about it. Name another spammable spell that has 100 mana cost.
I don't think there is one, honestly.
There isn't. Like, her Q has a really, really short cooldown. Especially after you hit the 30% like CDR mark, you're pretty much queuing every time it's... As soon as it's done shooting the 5, you pretty much have it off cooldown again. It's... Oh, this is such a rough nerf. Yikes.
Now I want to see the
Seems like
Savage's
it
mana
seems
cost.
heavy-handed.
Watch them
don't
next
miss.
nerf it so that the value is what it was at release.
Right.
Like I bet that's the next. I'm sorry, buff it. Like I bet that's the buff we see. It's like okay, now it's you get released Talia.
Yeah.
Set everything back to release. Cassiopeia. Let's move on because we're struggling a bit.
No, we're doing okay.
Cassiopeia base
No, we're
mana.
good. We're good.
We're doing okay, but we're talking a lot about a lot of things. Base mana went down 41, so 375 to 334. Mana growth went up to compensate, so the mana growth per level. And then her Twin Fang damage versus poison targets went up. It's kind of weird. It goes up at level 1 and then down ever since then. So you'll have a 15 base damage nerf at rank 5, but you get 0.05 ability power in compensation.
0.4.
So this is cool. This is like we want
the
Cassiopeia
boost.
to have to scale basically.
Yeah.
She's pretty
it's,
strong early right now.
Because depending on matchup, you'd start Corrupting Potion or Doran's Ring. You would walk in the lane, spam E at them until they either have to burn a summoner or use both of their pots or use all their sustain, and then you're back up to full off Corrupting Potion or whatever, and then you won the lane. And that was Cassiopeia in solo queue in a nutshell. So this solves that.
I want to say it was Faker, but we saw somebody do that at MSI. So it's not like this is a new thing. It took them a while to get
It's
hit
a lot
for
harder
this.
to do in pro play because you'll get punished easier by junglers and things. But this definitely is looking at that level 1 solo queue cheesy kind of Cassiopeia play.
Jesus, she has not been really touched.
Not
at all
since the
this season.
rework. She got some changes around then, but for the most part, she's been pretty stable.
Been bug fixes,
Mm-hmm.
and she got magic resistance.
Yup. So
And
she might be up there in terms of, hey, Orianna and Talia got nerfed. I guess I'll play Cassiopeia.
And Mitch, I don't know if you specified this, but that damage buff at level 1 for E is against poison targets. So really you're only getting that level 2. And then it's it's 300 AP in order for it to go even late game with a 0.05 ability power.
I believe so.
The difference, yeah.
Yeah. So
That looks right.
yeah.
So
Late
something
game
that I
still
think is
good.
interesting
Mid
is
game
the,
nerf.
yeah, I'm curious to see how I wonder if they've been sitting on this nerf for a while, but they're like Cassio isn't like dominating solo queue super hard, and so now that they're hitting a bunch of mid laners a little bit, they said, okay, now's the time when we drop this one.
Right. Just kind of tweak everything at once and then see where everything falls. And then they essentially
Who's
have 2 more
still
patches
standing?
to tune things up again. Yeah.
Yeah. So Corki base attack damage went down, which I'm really sad about, 58 to 55. He had just gotten a buff there, but he also had a change to make a lot of his basic attacks go 75% magic, 25% physical, I think it is. So like they'd had a huge shift towards like way more magic damage. Like he wasn't a mixed damage character anymore.
Yeah.
So I believe that's
and
what.
of
one
course,
the they were tweaking that
When we
down.
talk about Corki, we have to talk about Sheen, and this affects Sheen.
Correct.
So it's kind of like a double nerf for him.
Yeah. I mean,
Sorry,
it's
Corki.
it's kind of needed, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I'll cry a little bit.
I think he'll be fine.
But
Poor
I think
Galio.
he'll
on
be,
the
I think
other
he'll be
hand.
fine.
Oh my god.
Dom's sad.
Yeah.
He's such
Galio's,
a fun champion, and they just are like, nope. Like, and he's not doing well in solo queue at all.
This is a pro play change
because he keeps getting picked in pro play. They're like, nope, we got to hit Galio harder. We gotta keep nerfing Galio.
So Galio's ultimate cooldown goes up 0 seconds, so it's still the same at rank 16 or level 16, but
I wish
now
I could
up
put
to
16
3-minute
points in
cooldown. Yeah. Then you wouldn't have to worry about being the brush to ultimate people. Or the kill people.
Nope.
So yeah, 3-minute cooldown at rank 1, which is just ridiculously high.
That's what
And then
level.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and then the damage reduction went from 20 to 40 to 20 to 30. So the damage reduction at higher, so like you get more cooldown at higher ranks, or sorry, at the early ranks, and then less damage reduction at later ranks. So pretty significant nerf all around.
I honestly don't know what they can do to Galio to make him not a pro play pick, but yet to make him a good solo queue pick, because he's very much like Shen, in that in coordinated team play, amazing. Random solo queue players, not as great unless his stats were overtuned.
It's probably just his curse, honestly.
Yeah,
because of how they decided
unless
to rework him.
unless he just gets reworked again, which I don't think is going to happen. They
Not right now, anyway.
So Freak was saying at least that they want to give him some more AP ratios to at least give him more of an AP build path with like Rod of Ages, which
so
you would
bad,
see
though.
more often in solo queue. But again, like we said earlier with Cain, you're probably not going to see those changes until after Worlds.
Right.
And even with those changes even if those changes come around, will that make Galio worth picking if he's not a straight tank and he's more of a AP bruiser guy?
They'd have to give him some real big ratios to justify
Not necessarily. I don't necessarily agree with that. Like, there's a bunch of like AP bruisers who can't like burst people down by themselves, but they're like really good supplemental AOE to a team fight, and because they're like just tanky enough not to get bursted, you know what I mean? Like, they end up being like that front line that rolls you and still does damage.
Who are you thinking of?
Like Gragas, people like that. Honestly, like I would say Renekton is in that category too, even though he's a physical bruiser. His damage kind of falls off mid game, but he's just still tanky enough and still does respectable damage. I think Galio could fit that mold.
But then the difference is Renekton has really strong base numbers, and you can't give Galio base numbers because then he just falls back into the same tank problem again.
True. I guess I'm just hoping that if his ratios are decent but not like insane,
right,
that he might be able to build into that, even if whereas like Renekton like scales into it, like Renekton scales down, and I'm hoping that Galio would scale up.
Sure.
But they might meet at similar points around mid game, hopefully.
I believe it was the Score Esports that had an article about the amount of support Galio we've seen in pro play lately, and I kind of wonder if that's what these nerfs keep pushing him towards. Because, like it or not, there's still a bunch of utility in his kit. There is a ton of crowd control on, especially with support build paths on pretty low cooldowns and everything. And at a certain point, I gotta just wonder if that's where he ends up, just because he can't survive anywhere else.
Depending on how hard Coin gets hit again next patch, you might see it. But I think that has to happen first before he really becomes a support pick again.
Yep. Got a couple last ones. LeBlanc, or at least from mid lane. LeBlanc's Q, Shatter Orbs, minion damage went down from 80% to 60%. So even less clear ability, isn't that kind of what she needs? Like, she needs that a little bit.
Nerfed before
that because they gave it a ratio.
Yeah. LeBlanc's a problem child again. This is a pro play nerf because she's been in ban prison the entire year after the rework. Solo queue, she's pretty bad right now, or she's harder to play at the lower elos than she is in like Masters Challenger.
Poor Galio and LeBlanc.
Right. Again, the problem children of solo queue pro play.
I don't know.
Damn you, pro players.
And then,
I feel bad for Galio because he's a boss. But
yeah, Galio's sweet. I could.
LeBlanc not really.
Yeah, I'm fine with LeBlanc.
LeBlanc can go fuck herself. I don't like that champion at all.
You guys are so harsh.
So the one buff, I guess, one real actual buff this patch is Fizz is a playful trickster cooldown went from 18 to 10 to 16 to 10. So that 1 point window now is 2 seconds off of it.
Yeah.
Early on. That's
Have fun, Whale.
great. I don't like that.
Well,
I also don't like Fizz buffs, but I guess this is. Yeah.
I think this was actually maxed first most of the time, right?
Yeah, for mid lane.
Except when he was going against another melee, he might
Correct.
max W first, but
Yeah.
E
So
first
for the
of
most
time.
part,
So
this
even
is-
though this, yeah, at the max strength is the same cooldown, so really it's not that much of a buff. Just
Right.
very early game, you get a little bit of a cooldown reduction.
This might, if anything, this might be a buff for tank Fizz top lane, but we don't really see that much anymore.
God. That still exists.
It could.
No.
Actually, I kind of liked
Please
that.
don't.
I should play that more.
I'm 3-0 on it this season, so
T-Force Tank Fizz.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, it's 80 carry. We've got just a little bit left. Caitlyn, Q pass-through damage went from 65% to enemies beyond the first to 50% to enemies beyond the first. So a bit of a nerf if you're hitting somebody instead of your main target, I guess, with your Q. And then W, trap bonus damage went down. Actually, a flat and 80 ratio amount. It went down 20 damage at rank 1. Yeah, it needed to. It went from 30 to 190 with 0.7 total AD to 10 to 190 with 0.6 total AD. I got hit by some of that earlier today and was not a fan of it, even though that was, I think, already on the new patch.
And you know what? She's gonna get hit again. I guarantee it before Worlds comes around. Like, she's not doing super hot in solo queue right now, but this isn't why Caitlyn was picked a lot, and she's gonna keep getting nerfed, unfortunately.
Yeah, I got
Another pro play victim.
Yup. Especially right now, when they gave her 5 traps,
that's the problem. They need to change the way the traps are working.
Mm-hmm. Also, a lane bully that scales super well in the late game probably isn't the best thing to have in the game. Just saying.
Yeah, since she doesn't have that mid game dip anymore.
Not as hard as you think it would
They
be.
claim they're trying to bring that back with these changes, but I don't really see it.
All right.
This is your girl punch.
Final thing, support. Ancient coin, which I love Santana's comment here. The mana coin was giving back 15% missing mana, or like a flat amount. I think it was 15 or 25, depending on if you'd ranked it up. And now it goes to 10% missing mana.
Oh no!
Whoa.
The
Biggest nerf of the patch right here.
That is not.
I need to nerf the
problem with
gold.
This item.
Who thought of this?
I don't want them to nerf it, but
I think they were just like, for some reason they're taking a cautious approach with this item right now because they had been buffing it, and then they actually did something meaningful by giving it a passive that was useful instead of that garbage skill point. And so now they're trying to see if like, wait, did we maybe just have it right on the first try except for that the quest reward? So let's bring all the other stuff that we previously buffed down.
Yeah.
The amount of gold it's giving is just too high right now, is the sad reality.
And the thing is, it's a very low risk gold reward. Like, sure, you have to occasionally walk near minions, but the pickup range is pretty large on that.
It's weird. The times where you're not really paying attention to it, it feels like you have no issue, and then the times when you feel like it's a really risky thing at all, it feels like you have to get as close as you like absolutely could, in order to pick it up. It's
when you're paying attention.
Yeah.
God.
I have a hypothetical question for Ancient Coin.
Okay.
So if it gave you the same amount of gold it gives you now, but it gave you no stats in lane, would it still be worth getting?
Are you counting that it doesn't give the mana coin either, or do you still
Correct.
get that?
Let's say it gives you no mana back.
So it
Woof.
literally gives you.
That's pretty important.
It gives you nothing
mana's
but
pretty
gold.
important.
Yes.
So
is
it's like
is the gold that valuable?
No. Yes and
Okay.
no. Like, you can't just give a fairy charm that only gives gold. I don't think anybody would buy that.
That's what I'm
Buy a
wondering,
bunch of
because
them,
that's their
just like-
philosophy here. Is this is the risk option, right? We're giving you more gold if you can survive the laning phase with less stats. So I'm just wondering where that balance is.
I mean, less stats would be removing 5% cooldown reduction. Otherwise, it's all related to this favor.
And
stuff.
honestly, sure.
Yeah, it's just
I
kind
would-
of reduction of mana at this point.
If you remove 5% CDR at level 1, sure. You know what? Whatever. I'll still take
that
it.
doesn't matter.
But if you remove everything else and it's just like you occasionally get a coin drop, that's I don't think that's.
Yeah, I
Well,
think.
you would. I mean, in theory,
gross.
you're basically at that point you're just getting more gold drops.
Right.
Like if you get rid of the unless they change the spawn rate
I think you would
of the
have
gold
to.
coins as well. But like you're just getting more gold drops. Then you know what, you probably still get this item because you're
Right.
gonna get to Ardent Censor and or Redemption like way fast then, and that'll make up for the mana issues anyway.
Yeah. So in essence, keep playing coin supports.
Yeah, I think they didn't want to like they had like 1 or 2 patches where this has been like bonkers. Like it's been so good, and they don't want to have a scenario where they for an entire season had only 2 of the 3 options viable, and then had the other ones. It's suddenly here for a little bit. They don't want to nerf it into the ground so that it was there for like a hot second, and then nope, don't want an ancient coin back in the game. I think that's fine. I mean, it's very good. Please just do it, guys. It's way better than you think if you haven't tried it. There's a couple of miscellaneous things. I think one of the first things to talk about, though, that's not listed on here, is you can now ward where vision is.
Correct.
You have the vision ping, showing
Okay,
which you need to keybind yourself. You have to do that.
Do it now.
Otherwise, it's not going to show up in the wheel or anything. I don't know if you can make it show up in the wheel.
You
but,
can't
like,
make it
I
show up in
bound
the
mine
wheel. They were
to H, I
talking
think.
about that. They just
That'd be weird. That'd
they
be
don't
so
want to change
difficult to
any
do
of
with the UI.
Yeah, they don't want to change any of the ones that are already there. And right now, it's not a priority to expand the wheel to have it in there. So you have to bind it to a hotkey essentially, like you would do for like a couple of the other ones. But yeah, go do that.
Yeah,
Go do
I
that
only
right
used
now.
it a handful of times last game, but I mean, it is useful though.
Very much so.
I guess a couple other like the last little things, which actually some of these are pretty important. On hit interactions with wards, the following abilities no longer consume their empowered charge when attacking a ward. And so the list there is Aatrox's Bloodthirster Blood Price. There's Jax's Grandmaster's Might, so that like every 3rd hit. Jace's Transform, so every time you transform, you get an auto attack, like an empowered auto attack. And then Riven's Runic Blade, so whenever you use an ability, you get a stacks of her passive. So when you use those up, which is nice.
I just want to say that this is a buff to Jax, Jason, Riven, but it's actually a nerf to Aatrox because now you can't get some free healing off the ward.
Unfortunate for the many Aatrox players that we are seeing on the Rift.
Yeah, sorry guys.
The Aatrox player.
Punch likes him. Punch, are you still playing Aatrox?
No. I forgot why I stopped playing him. Probably because I lost all the time. But yeah, he was fun.
Yeah, having a 0%
You won whenever you played with us. It was really funny.
Was that because
And
of
you were
us
making
or
fun of
because of
Chira.
Aatrox?
Yes, I don't know. Chira couldn't win to save his life, and then Punch comes in and plays Aatrox. It's like, hey, this champ's real good.
Oh, that's right. Oh, that's right. That was the game where I was like, man, this champion's so easy. And Cheer was all mad because we were winning. That was a good game.
He was mad because we were winning. That sounds like Chira.
I think you did start losing with us, and that's when you said, "Oh, okay, I can't carry the T4's crew. Then this champion must be bad."
Not good enough.
Last thing, I guess this is pretty small, but we kind of covered it already with the Cain thing. Damage over time, items and masteries, damaging effects of corrupting push and DFT, red buff, and challenging smite now properly count as damage over time effects. So we kind of saw that with like the Cain passive.
Yep.
Cool. I guess that might affect like Deathfire Touch itself.
Rylai's.
I don't know what else. Really.
Rylai's.
Oh, Rylai's. Well, no, isn't everything
Spellvamp too,
isn't
right?
everything-
Yeah, Spellvamp
Yeah.
as well. A couple
Yes.
other things, but you know,
Spellvamp.
nothing that's gonna make or break the game. Just kind of little things.
And then Rift Herald fixed a bug where Rift Herald would hit both Nexus turrets simultaneously if spawned on the mid lane.
Did anybody
Oh.
actually ever see this?
I didn't see that.
Sounds
happen.
like a good
No.
bug.
Oh,
Nope.
If you managed to
Sounds
get
like a
both,
very
though,
good.
that'd be great.
Well, good bug in multiple ways there.
Right.
Heyo.
That sounds like a strategy. It sounds like it's intended. Like if you use it in the mid lane, you're gonna hit both Nexus turrets because he's so big. Like I don't know. Sounds like a strategy to me. There's 2
Just have him hit
turrets,
the
right?
Nexus
Like
instead.
No, I'm with you. I feel you. That's. Did he lose double health or she?
Probably not.
uh
He probably
That
hit
was-
both for the same amount, but only lost 1 turret health.
I like it if
you lost both
if
health.
it loses the same amount or loses double health. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
the fact that we're discussing a Rift Herald hitting both Nexus turrets is even a feat in itself.
yeah. If you're losing that bad, like,
If you're losing
I don't
that
think
bad,
that-
there's an
you're
FF
still
at
gonna lose the
15
game.
now. Just saying.
yes,
I mean, theoretically, you could get it at like 1930, and then you could hold on to it till like 25, and then you could push with it at
Like you get it, and then you take Baron right
Baron
after
for
or
20 minutes,
something.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I could imagine somebody jokingly saying, "Hey, we would have won this game if Rift Herald hadn't hit both of our Nexus turrets, you know, because we were totally in the game."
Right.
I'm a Todd. I like
And file a
this.
report, right?
Yeah.
I wish it wasn't going
So
away.
if you want this change to come back, write in the Riot at support@riotgames.com. Let them know you want Rift Herald to hit both Nexus turrets.
We would have won if it hit both Nexus turrets.
Oh boy. The goofs.
Or like you
All right.
break through top and then run quick in front of the mid inhibitor.
I want to see a mechanic where if you kill what he was charging at, he just keeps charging until he hits the next thing.
Interesting. We'll
Yeah,
work on
Does
that
he
when
change direction, or does he stay the same direction?
Kinda
No,
like-
just like it's like Scion.
Yeah, exactly. Sounds awesome.
I mean, talk to them.
Yeah, that'd be great.
we'll get that implemented. Don't worry. We have our sources.
Do more like they need to do more stuff like that to make the bronze games like way more chaotic than they already are.
Yes, create
Like make
chaos
bronze
galore
the MMR
MMRs.
people want to be in because that's where you get to see all the fun, cool stuff.
Right.
It's like Mario Kart.
It
It's
could be
almost
fun
more
if
fun
it
to
was,
be
like-
in the back because that's when you get the fun items.
Yeah, like everyone gets a Rift Herald buff at like 45 minutes to try to make
Can
the
that
game
be in
end.
game mode?
Because people can't close it out.
Instead of
Everybody's-
minions, you get Rift Heralds. Oh man.
That works.
And then it's just
This has gone off the rails a little bit.
But that's what patch notes episodes of 4 serial is off the rails topics.
Yeah, I guess so. I haven't been on one in a while. Yeah, that I guess will do it for us for episode 463. We will be continuing, I assume, our coverage of like end of season suggestions and things. So if you have questions about that, we got a couple, I think, over the last few days, if I checked Slack correctly. So we'll probably be covering those on Monday.
Yep.
So yeah, guys, see you all next week.
Doodles.
Have a good
See you guys.
Later, dogs.
Every time. Every time.